Well, boys, we did it. We did what nobody thought we could do. Go to historic Lambeau Field in the cold weather on primetime with the Packers needing to win and get into the playoffs after having their own turnaround midseason, and to continue the historic career of Aaron Rodgers. Nobody thought the Lions had a fighter's chance, except for Lions fans and Tony Dungy. And America was rooting for us. Feels kind of nice to have people on your side. It feels even better to go into Lambeau Field, keep the Packers out of the playoffs, take Aaron Rodgers' manhood, and force him into retirement. Thanks, Kirby Joseph. You own Aaron Rodgers.
Welcome to Detroit.
Welcome back, fellas. As you guys know, I'm Hat and Beard, the host of this channel. Before we get too far down the line, go ahead and do me a favor. Ring the bell so that you never miss out on any notifications. Like the video if you enjoy the type of content that I provide. Subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out on any future content. Now that you're part of the Hat and Beard gang, let's get into the story, fellas. We did it, fellas. Offensively, defensively, special teams, our team was firing on every single possible cylinder. No mishaps, no big penalties, no huge lapses in coverage and big blowout plays. If anything, this game was a slugfest. The box score reflects exactly the type of game that it was, right up until the last 3-4 minutes of the game, where Kirby Joseph did the unthinkable. The first time in Aaron Rodgers' career, one man has intercepted him 3 times, and it comes off of our 3rd round draft pick rookie. I'm not one for SOL. But when the Packers got the ball back with so much time left, I had seen that story play out with that quarterback play out. I've seen Aaron Rodgers mount last-minute comebacks numerous times against us and other teams. I wasn't 100% worried, but there was this little bit of doubt left within me. And that's something we're going to talk about all offseason long. The little bit of doubt that the Lions fandom will still have, and how Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and company can reverse that way of thinking and finally prove that the culture has changed. And you can look at plays like Kirby Joseph's game-sealing interception to show how the culture has changed. For years, that would never happen for us. My whole lifetime, those game-sealing last-minute interceptions, we were the ones throwing them, not making them. And now we're the team that makes them. Kirby Joseph is a budding superstar. Our defense is incredibly young. Mr. Mayhem, Aiden Hutchinson, did everything in his power Sunday night to go out and make his claim for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Malcolm Rodriguez has been a gem all season long. James the Hitman Houston has come on strong the past 9 games of the season, really setting a strong foundation for our team defensively to ascend during the offseason. We're going to talk an awful lot about what the Lions need to do, the pieces they need to bring in on defense to elevate our defense, to bolster the back end, to maybe bring in some linebacker help and some rotational players on the defensive line. Offensively, it couldn't have gone any better, fellas. They did exactly what I told them to do. You took the ball out of Jared Goff's hands and you let the run game make all the plays that you needed to make. You ground the clock, you played a physical game, and Jay Willie set the franchise single-season touchdown rushing record in Lambeau. I told you guys it was a perfect revenge game narrative for Jay Willie, and he delivered. I was so happy that he went out there and did Jay Willie things, that our offensive line went out and did Detroit offensive line things, that Jared Goff went out, proved to all the haters, all you Jared Goff haters, he proved to you that he can win outdoors, he can win out in the cold, and he can go on the road in big-time games and deliver. And he did. It's great. I'm a Jared Goff truther. This channel's about being Jared Goff truthers. Go ahead and smash like if you think Jared Goff is the QB of the future for at least the duration of his contract. What was really intriguing to see was that our team came out and still performed at a high level. We were still competitive. It was still as if we were playing for that final playoff spot, even though Seattle had sealed it up 45-50 minutes earlier prior to kickoff. Our team still went out and competed for bragging rights, for the point of the matter, to go out and fight for Dan Campbell on a national stage and show everybody that this team is legit, that the foundation is strong, that we are set up for a 5-10 year run of dominance. I don't know if Dan Campbell's going to be the man for that entire time, but I do know that right now Dan Campbell has been the man for the job. I never should have doubted Sheila Ford, but what she needs to understand is that the fandom has had 30 plus years of not knowing that this team could be legit, that we have not making the right plays, botching drafts, botching coaching hires, moving players out of town Darius Slay that still had a lot left in the tank. But she was right. Sheila Ford was right that they had to completely strip everything down, and that she had them. She had the right guys in place. Sheila Ford knows what she's doing. She should be considered like the owner of the year, man. Like what Sheila Ford Hamp was able to do with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and company in 2 years is amazing. She must have known something or really just had a really good feeling about MCDC. Speaking of MCDC, as much as I think he should be coach of the year considering what he did with what he had, we didn't make the playoffs. And that's one of the driving factors of who is going to win coach of the year. It's going to be Nick Sirianni or Brian Daboll. Honestly, I would say that Doug Peterson should be coach of the year. Yeah, we beat the brakes off of Jacksonville. And yeah, it's Jacksonville. They went from having the first overall pick to winning their division, making it into the playoff games with making just a simple coaching change. Yeah, they spent a lot of money in free agency. Yep. Their draft wasn't necessarily as strong as ours. Yep, their division's a lot weaker than ours is. But they were able to do it. They were able to turn it around. They were able to look like a completely different team and bully their way into the playoffs. So if I were to cast a vote, even though I'm a homer and I want Dan Campbell to be coach of the year so that we can have all the accolades and the sun shining on us just a little bit longer, Doug Peterson would get my vote for coach of the year. So it's been a fun season, guys. We finished above 500 for the first time in 6 years. We went out and we played meaningful games not only in December but also in January. Not only were we in the talk for playoff runs, where we, when you see the three columns, the made it, the wild card, and the in the hunt. Not only were we in the hunt, but right up until the absolute last game of the regular season, we still had a fighter's chance of making it into the playoffs. Nobody would have said that beginning of the year. A lot of people didn't think we'd win more than 6 games because that's the number Vegas gave. If you guys recall, those of you real OGs that have been here for the duration of this channel's existence, really, I said the Lions were going to win between 9 and 12 games. The Lions also went 3-13 the season before and were just a dumpster fire of a franchise until I started making Lions content. But guys, we turned it around. It's been a fun ride all season long. From being on Hard Knocks to the 1-6 start where we all thought we were going to pack it in. I was calling to roll the tanks down right through Ford Field, tanking for the number 1. But we didn't. We bounced back. Dan Campbell was at the absolute bottom of the barrel. His back was up against it. And he asked his players, he asked his coaching staff to please believe me, to please buy into what I'm saying. He had a plan. He had a vision. And it worked. Had it not worked, this would be an entirely different conversation. But as it stands right now, Dan Campbell deserves to be here as long as he wants. Give him pay raises. Keep the coaching staff intact as long as you can. I know Aaron Glenn's going to be interviewing for the Indy job. Ben Johnson's probably going to get a couple of phone calls. I don't think either one of them are actual candidates. Ben Johnson's just a hot name. And Aaron Glenn is getting a lot of Rooney Rule hires, but I don't think any franchise is actually going to hire the defensive coordinator to the 29th overall ranked defense. And yeah, Ben Johnson does fit the mold of young, electric, dynamic offensive coordinators, but I don't know if, one, he's quite ready for that position to take on, like, say, a Houston, which is just a dumpster fire of a franchise and perpetually in rebuild mode, or if he would elect to stay and prove 2-3 years of this success with Jared Goff, because him and Jared Goff have custom built this offense for Jared Goff, and it's awesome. I love it. Mark Brunell is another huge factor that nobody is accounting for. Mark Brunell, the quarterback's coach for the Lions, has been able to take a broken down, dejected, nobody wanted him Jared Goff and made him a MVP caliber, potentially. Not saying he would win the MVP, but he is good enough that Jared Goff could make enough plays to potentially be in an MVP argument in a year. Mark Brunell needs a lot more praise and acknowledgement that no one's giving him for what he was able to do with Jared Goff. Yeah, Ben Johnson gets a lot of the hype and stuff, but let's be honest, guys, quarterbacks spend probably more time with their quarterback's coach than they do anyone else in the building. And Mark Brunell, be it that, he has seen it all, he's done it all. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get the best out of a quarterback. He's doing it. He did it with Jared Goff, and we should be very grateful for Mark Brunell. I don't want to talk too much about what we need to do in the offseason. There's going to be plenty of time for that. There's going to be many, many weeks of that. There's going to be many, many weeks of us hearing this sound. And for once, fellas, I'm actually hyped to talk about the draft in terms of how we can continue our ascension, not how we can start the rebuild. Ideally, Aiden Hutchinson will be the last top 5 pick that we have to make, where we go out and we say, okay, I need Mr. Mayhem to come in and completely change the franchise. Now we're looking at drafting players to solidify, bolster, and add depth to our already highly talented pool of players. We'll talk and look at free agents. We'll do lots of mock drafts. We'll probably do we'll touch on the playoffs as they're coming along. But guys, I'm going to be scaling back the amount of longer form content that I do during the regular season. Number one, I know this sounds petty, but I got a little burned out doing 2 videos a week. I'm going to do that next year during the regular season. But during the off season, I think I'm going to scale this back to 1 video a week, probably look to upload it on a Wednesday, kind of a midweek thing. And then I'm going to focus for a little bit more on short content, just because it's a little bit easier for me right now. Work is very, very busy, and I don't necessarily have the time that I did, say, 3-4 weeks ago to really edit my videos the way that I want. I think you guys can tell by a slight drop in quality and how I'm rushing things a little bit more. I really want to build a different space for me to shoot these videos in so that I don't have to set everything up every time I want to shoot a video. I can just have everything ready to go. It's been a wild ride. I mean, ups and downs. To finish on such a strong note, it's been awesome, you guys. We've grown. This channel has grown a lot just this season alone. I cannot thank you guys enough. Seriously. You guys keep turning out, man. I mean, I look at some of these bigger content creators and the quality and the way that they're able to talk and stuff, and then I turn around and I upload a video, and man, you guys turn out. And not only do you guys turn out, and my views I think are real strong, but man, you guys are watching for a long time, which is weird because I just kind of ramble at this camera, man, and it's crazy to think you guys like listening to me talk, man, and that's awesome. So stay tuned. Keep the bell rang. You know, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to reduce. I'm thinking about reducing the number of videos, but increasing the overall length of the content, doing more of a longer form style where I can really dive into things a little bit more. It'll also give me the ability to do better editing, get better imagery on the screen for you guys, because I feel really rushed all the time. Like I have to get it out X, Y, and Z days. Now I'll be able to scale it back and work on a little bit more of like project form videos. I actually have 2 videos that I want to make where I'm essentially establishing an argument to the NFL on why they should change certain things. Not rules wise. There's plenty of rules issues that I would love to change. For example, the NFL should add audio transparency during review calls and replays, just like the XFL did, and put a time limit on it so that we know what's going on, you know, because there's a lot of speculation this year about the NFL being fixed. And that makes sense because we've never seen a season like this before. This is a crazy season with a lot of parity. I mean, first to worst, and everybody's flipping, and now the Lions, I mean, we're above 500, and we beat the Packers in Lambeau on prime time to send Old Man Rodgers home without his manhood. Thank you, Kirby Joseph. Thank you, Aiden Hutchinson. This might have been a trademark win for Dan Campbell, but that's beside the point. It's going to be a couple of things. Number one, I have been preaching this for years, and comment down below what you think of this. I think the NFL should do the Walter Payton Man of the Year award ceremony at halftime of the Super Bowl. That should be the halftime show, is the Walter Payton Man of the Year award ceremony. The other thing I feel incredibly strong about is they should add the title to Comeback Player of the Year. It should be Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year. These are 2 things that I feel very strongly about. I know it's very bizarre to feel so passionate about the Walter Payton Man of the Year halftime show ceremony being the actual Super Bowl halftime show, and that they should change Comeback Player of the Year's title to Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year. But these are things that I've been really hung up on for like 2 years now. Well, fellas, that's going to do it for me. Thank you. Thank you guys for a wonderful season. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the Lions, you guys, because we know as a fandom they wouldn't be able to do it without us, and we turn out in droves. And this is what we've all been waiting for, to have a product on the field that you can be excited about during the offseason. The Lions left me wanting more, man. I wish we would have made the playoffs just so I could watch my boys play more, man. Oh, dude, it's been a wild season. It's been a great season, and we finished hot. We finished hot last season. We came out flat this year, but we finished strong. Now, if we can just figure out how to maintain this mentality, I don't want this year to be a one-year wonder. This can't be magic. This has to be the normal. This has to be the status quo moving forward. Our team has to go out next season. We have to have the pieces in place. We got incredibly lucky with our health this year. Add some depth in the draft and free agency. Bring in some talented players in the draft and free agency. Bolster your secondary. Maybe add some fresh legs to the running back room. But next year's the year, boys. The clock's down. The clock's off the wall. You've had 2 years to build a foundation in this rebuild. So next year's the time to deliver. Next year's the year to fight for the division title. Next year's the year to go out and get a home game at Ford Field through the playoffs. We're already projected to have looks like 5 potential primetime games. And I'm thinking Thanksgiving is a primetime game for the Lions for the first time in God knows how long. All of that will be discussed a bunch, guys. Thanks again. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been incredibly awesome all season long. Thank you, guys. Have a great week, man. And we will catch you next week when we just start discussing off-season moves, potential draft picks, and just overall having a more casual conversation about the Detroit Lions, not an analytical, this is what they need to do week in and week out conversation. We'll catch you guys then. Have a great day. Peace.
Time to 23 Skidoo. Or should I say 69 Skidoo?
She said that my pornos were boring.